So this is day 2, of the conversation. So I ended up having a conversation with my white friend. Again, I see some of y'all, coming in with the semantics, all my white friends are acquaintances. I don't have any white friends. All that shit. I known this motherfucker since we were 14, 15. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, we had our 2-year hiatus from each other, because, it is what it is. He's Republican. I used to be on the Democratic side. And now I'm not affiliated with any political party. I see the bullshit and fuckery, on both sides. But there's this concept of whiteness that is pervasive in, the Republican or conservative identity. That's why you see them jumping up and down about all the freaking, statues and monuments and, history, and, they're claiming that the statues and history are, tied together. I'm like, you can go and read that shit in the history book. Go to your local library. You know what I mean? Aside from the fact, it's so funny watching some of these white folks, because they'll sit there and they'll talk about, Colin Kaepernick is disrespecting the troops because he's taking a knee because of police brutality, right? And he's the enemy of the state, right? Even though he's protesting and doing one of the most American things that you can possibly do, which is protest. Again, their words, not mine. But then, you get the Confederate statues, right? Or the Confederate flag, and you get these white people that it's like they view it through the lens that it's, their white identity, right? When these are the people that fought against the Union, fought against America, right? Like, you got white people running around with, all these alternative symbols, which, reality is they are the symbol of white supremacy, right? And you would think that these people would be upholding just the American flag. I only support, or I only am behind, one flag, right? But you'll get the thin blue line flag. I made a video about that, addressing, that whole thin blue line garbage, right? They'll support the Confederate flag. All these alternative flags are symbols of, white power, white domination, white supremacy. That's what they really are. It's not about, America. I just find it hilarious and funny. I find it hilarious and funny how, here you have, them complaining about what's American and what's un-American. And I'm like, but you're supporting the statues of the Confederacy. You're supporting the statues of, a group of people that wanted to secede, from the United States of America. I'm like, you don't see the irony in that? Colin Kaepernick needs to stand because he's disrespecting America, but yet the Confederate statues need to stay because taking them down disrespects America, right? Even though these are the people that wanted to secede from America. But somehow Confederate statues are the most American thing in the world, which they're not. What they are is they're symbols of white supremacy, which is why the black people want to take them down in the first place. It's just, the hypocrisy is so blatant. It's like, it's mind numbing. It's mind numbing. I'm like, really? So anyway, we ended up having another conversation, and I found that snippet that Vincent James put up there, the cell phone fight, right? That he only just put, just a little small clip, and you don't get any context of what happened. So I Googled and I found an article that was written about it, right? And I'm saying even the article is just biased as hell, Oh, this precious flower of a white woman was attacked by an angry, savage African beast, right? That's what the damn article, that's the tone of the article, right? But then it goes on to say basically the black woman that was beating up the white woman in the park, they worked together. They worked at McDonald's together. So already I'm like, oh, dealing with the lower classes. So they worked at McDonald's, and basically the fight was over the accusation that the white woman had been spreading rumors about the black woman to a manager, right? Which in the middle of a pandemic, right, you fucking with somebody's livelihood, right? And we had this exchange, and I'll see if I can take our exchange and transcribe it and put it in a freaking a Word document. Not transcribe, it's already transcribed, but I'm just saying put it in a Word document so everybody can see like what our exchange was, because we actually talked about other stuff. It was brief, but I'm saying there was other stuff in there, and you'll see how our exchange goes and how I argue with people or debate people or have my exchanges with people. So I had to point out to him, I'm like, see, that's the context. I'm like, look, man, and I broke it all the way down, the fact that they're, working at McDonald's, everybody's on edge. You got people, they're worried about paying next month's rent. They're worried about getting evicted, and being one of those at-will employees, which I've been before, that shit sucks. There's no security in that. You know what I mean? You have somebody run around, say, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You get written up, and the next thing you know, they start giving you pink slips and telling you that you're fired. Okay? So, again, I'm speculating as to, the depths of what happened when it came, to that fight. But there was a couple key things that I pointed out to him, because he was using that not in front of the children. The article did the same thing. In front of the children. And I had to point out to him, I showed him a picture of basically a black man and what looked to be two black girls hanging from a tree, which is an old, photo, right, from probably the 1920s. And, I said to him, where was the not in front of the children when it came to photos like this? He was like, oh, you can't bring up the past. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't get to define shit. You don't get to set the parameters and the rules of shit that your people don't even fucking follow. Right? And I said, okay, let's not take it there. Let's just look at at what we know about this situation. I said, okay, I got a couple questions, man. I'm like, first off, what are the odds that this white woman is strolling through the park with her kid, and whatever other, because I saw the strollers in the background of other white people in the background. What are the chances that she's just strolling in the park and the black woman, and the people who were recording, right when this fight happened, they just happened to come across each other? Like, it's bullshit. Nah, they went there to meet, to probably have a fight. And just like low-class people do, they'll do shit like bring their kids to the event because they ain't got no babysitters, ain't got no money for no babysitters. I mean, shit, that the smart thing, would have been to, have the kid off in a distance or some shit like that. But, this white woman probably thought, I'm gonna give Keisha a piece of my mind. She thought that she was gonna win and that it was gonna be a victory, in front of the child. That's not the way that the shit played out, and she got her ass beat. And so now, they're still looking for this black woman, and all type of, she's getting charged with assault and this and that, and this is a brutal, savage attack. And I was like, that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is they went there to fight because they had beef at work, and the white girl got her fucking ass beat. That's all there is to it. She got pummeled and got her ass beat. But, the white media outlets, they want to make it like, oh, and this was just a vicious, unprovoked, savage attack. No, the shit was work related. So they got history. You see, but, again, no context. They want to leave that shit out. Right? And so, again, I'm not going to dive into, all of, our back and forth. I have the the transcripts, and I'll post them on the community section when I get a chance. I just got to throw it in a Word document. But this is something that kind of hit me, like I recognize, and I'm spitballing right now, but I don't know if y'all saw I have this still picture. I'm gonna see if I can take it and put it up in this video. I don't know if y'all saw the picture of the black man that beat up the white man in the Macy's. He was an employee at Macy's. I don't know what that whole situation was about. If you ask me, I think it was about disrespect. Because see, like, white people, one of the things that they like to do is they like to, again, like I said, they always see things through the lens of hatred, right? And, they always play this game where they try to make black people's response to racism and bigotry and white supremacy, the what's the word am I looking for? Is the incubus of hatred, like as though we do the same thing that they do. I'm not saying that black people don't attack white people unprovoked, but the vast majority of the time is in response to some foul shit that was done. Because see, white people are protected in this society. Black people are not protected in this society. Black people know that if they go out there and they attack a white person, they're going to get thrown under the jail. This is part of the reasons why people say, with the black on black violence, why it's higher in the black community, not just because of the self-hatred and the desperation and lack of opportunities in those environments and the narco economy that can only be enforced through violence, but also the fact that you kill a black man, you're not going to get as much time, and you're not going to be thrown underneath the jail. Okay, where if you attack a white person, you're going to be thrown underneath the jail. And for a lot of black people, if it ever gets that far, they're going to whip your motherfucking ass. They're going to make it worth when they go to jail. They're going to make it worth it. And I think that a lot of white people have basically become, complacent and comfortable in their whiteness. And so going back to this, the Macy's photo, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find it so I can just talk about it. But you got this, there's a shot that my friend sent to me, and he was all in arms about it. And he was just like, the white guy, like, why doesn't he do something? And I know what he was talking about. I was like, yeah, he looks like a cowering bitch. He looks like a cowering bitch ass, and I found that interesting. That's how he felt about that image. See, again, you gotta have your white friends so you can analyze some shit. But I felt it was interesting that he felt that way about that image, and see, this is the whole thing with like the media now, which is basically social media. Like the media is literally being countered by social media, and so where media controlled all of the images. Like example, the bullshit that they did with that situation at the Chipotle in Detroit with the white woman pulling the gun on the black woman and the daughter, right? The media only played a short snippet, right? Which made you just think that white woman just cocked the gun out of nowhere. That wasn't what happened, right? The whole, the actual video was out there of the whole encounter. It's the same bullshit they pulled, with the whole Ahmaud Arbery. Like they had all that information, but they just let it out a little bit at a time, which personally I think should be against the law, but that's a whole different conversation, right? And so now that you have, this, these encounters that happen and they go on the internet and they go viral and the police see it and they're like, oh, we're going to press charges and this, that, and the third. I'm saying they've lost control of the narrative. They're not the narrative, but they lost control of the imagery. That's more accurate. They've lost control of the imagery of it all. Because, back in the day, it would have been on some Tulsa, Oklahoma shit. A white guy, a black guy hits a white guy. They get into a scuffle. It's all the black guy's fault. Right? That's what'll be said. Then the white guys come out with their posse. It's going to be a hanging tonight. Right? And then they go and they hang the black person and the white man stands there looking victorious. You see, but here's where shit gets interesting. So Captain Solo and I, we were having this conversation like a while ago. And, he likes to watch, the Vlad and Lord Jamar and some of the stuff that Vlad points out about, because again, we're ELs, we're squares, and, there is this whole EL versus Ray Ray and Pookie thing that goes on in the community. And there's a lot of respect that Pookies get that ELs don't get. And, we've dove into the really understanding, why that exists, why that, dichotomy exists. And, we've all had several, conversations about the stuff and made several videos about it. But there was one video that Cap sent me and we were talking about it where I forget what the topic was, but I think it was Lord Jamar, and he said, he was like, yeah, you were, what did he say? A call to police type of motherfucker. And we talked about that. And this was, I don't know if this was right around the time of that brother got killed down there in Houston at the Seaside Lounge, and he got killed by a bunch of Pookies because he was checking on his black female friend and he was asking if she was okay. The Pookies took offense to that. What you mean, is she okay? Fuck are you gonna do about it, nigga? Right? And then, fight broke out, bottle gets smashed over the head. He goes out to his car and, they shoot him in the car. They pulled up and just got the dumping and he died. And, I didn't like that for the same reason my white friend doesn't like the, he doesn't like the, this whole Macy's image of the white man. I mean, he's literally on the ground with his hand up like, stop. What's funny? They actually had like images like that during Reconstruction of like, the black man's got his foot on the white man's neck and all of these sort of newspaper cartoons and caricatures of like what Reconstruction really was. And Reconstruction is the black man having his foot on the white man's neck. And they use that to great effectiveness, to, basically trigger white men and get them in their feelings, right? You saw this with the insurrection of Wilmington, North Carolina, the insurrection of 1898, where they basically ran the black people out of town. Literally ran them out of town, burned their newspaper down and whatnot because, Reconstruction was in full effect, right? Had thriving black community, black businesses, everything, ran all the black people out of town because of the type of propaganda, that was being pulled out, to trigger white men, which is why I think Vincent James and intellectual racists like that, the propagandists, are dangerous. But, that whole statement, you a call to police type of motherfucker, it basically what that says is you don't handle your own business. You see, and even I don't like that about ELs. I didn't like when that brother got killed in Seaside Lounge. I mean, that's why I'm always talking about educating lanes being some Second Amendment card carrying, pistol wearing motherfuckers. Point blank period, as much as people want to say that, everything can be handled diplomatically, everything cannot be handled diplomatically. Sometimes you got to blow a motherfucker's head off, and that's just all there is to it. I mean, that's just the ugly reality of the world. Everything cannot be resolved with non-violence and whatnot. And when people talk about, what about the police? The police ain't there all the time. The police ain't there all the time. Like, there's rules. There's like society's rules, and then there's like the social rules. And men have a whole set of social rules. There's just certain shit that you don't do. This is why, that whole, transgender men and women and everything. That's why all that shit is a fucking joke. You know what I'm saying? Like men beat each other's asses all the time for acts of disrespect. But when it comes to, the transgender women, and now all of a sudden the rules are supposed to change because, well, that's really a man or that's really a woman or, it just all type of confusion. And men are like, man, fuck that. We ain't playing that shit. No, I'm not motherfucking gay. You trying to come over here, come on to me or whatever. And, again, you cannot ungay. You know what I'm saying? You cannot ungay. And the way that a man will try to reclaim his manhood on a situation of trying to ungay is beat the transgender person's ass. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm saying that's the reality of the type of shit that happens out here. Okay. And, the same thing goes for, situations of disrespect in front of your women or in front of your children. And so, when he's all uptight about this image of this white man groveling on the ground, I'm like, how many hundreds of years do black men go through that? How many hundreds of years do black men be embarrassed just like that in front of their women and children and sitting there looking like a bitch? How long did that go on for? It's like that scene in the movie Crash with Terrence Howard and the cop fingering his wife, and Terrence feeling like he can't do anything. Right? That's the bitch position. And then Thandie Newton, she gets on his ass about, he didn't do anything. So it's a lose-lose. You do some, if you do some, you risk life and limb. If you don't do anything, you get slapped with the label of eternally being a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like those pictures, the images of black men being lynched and burned and hung and all that shit. That shit is immortalized in history. Immortalized. My white friends got this one Macy's picture of a black man standing over a white man that he just knocked out for whatever reason. I don't know what the context of the photo is, but for whatever reason. And he's just all upset. He's all upset. He's like, why doesn't the white man do something? Why doesn't he fight back? Because truth be told, see what I know about my friend is that he grew up poor. He was a poor white boy. Okay. And we ended up talking about that. You'll see that in the exchange where, his mother was real abusive. He basically had a matriarchal household, and his brother, still lives at home. And, his brother, he's got a fucked up relationship with his brother because basically he was the rock for his brother. Getting his brother through his mom's control. She was the, you can borrow the car, but there's no gas in it. He was the rock for his little brother. And when he went off to college and he was determined to get the hell out of there, his brother feels that he didn't bring him with him. Because, when I say his brother looked up to him like he was a god, his brother looked up to him like he was a god. Okay? And I remember, he used to come to all the basketball games, everything. And, when he went off to college and got into girls and everything and was no longer, at home, his brother was stuck there. And his brother was a follower. He wasn't necessarily the sharpest tool in the drawer. He wasn't really college material, so, he brings up his brother a lot. And, why is he this way? I'm like, truth be told, motherfucker, you didn't come out of your home unscathed either. That's why you got a lot of anger issues and all that type of shit, because he's not a punk. I can tell you that. He ain't no bitch. He'll throw down with the best of them, But see, he's entered this neutered white world, with his business and professional world and whatnot. And, it's like he's kind of, he sees this, like he doesn't understand how white power works. He's like adapting to it. Right. So he gets in there and, he's had to hide his background, because he's found out, just like Captain Solo found out, that in the white world, a lot of white people, they don't respect upward mobility like people think they do. They have this very snobbish, you don't come from what we come from, that type of, you weren't born an aristocrat, right? So he has to hide the fact that, his dad is just like, literally, like if it's just like any classic movie where they show, some white guy who goes off, moves to New York, has this great successful career, and then he goes back to the trailer park, where, his dad's, sitting on the couch drinking beers with pit stains and fucking, stains on his shirt and an unshaved face and, just looking like, literally looking like trailer park trash. That's basically what his parents are. You know what I mean? The life he's living is in stark contrast. And, his white parents don't even want to, like, hang out with, like his dad doesn't hang out with him. His dad doesn't go to see him or visit him. And I already explained to him why. I was like, yeah, because he's feeling some type of way. He's like, you've accomplished more in life than he has. Of course he doesn't want to come out there and see your big ass house with your hallways that you can literally bowl the fuck down. Of course he don't want to come out there and see you, man. I'm like, he's like, man, my dad, you think he would be proud of my accomplishments? I was like, nah, dude, you blew past him. He recognizes he has nothing. What can he teach you? What can he offer you? What advice can he give you? Hey, son, blah, 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 blah. He can't because you blew past him, But, why did I bring it up? Oh, I know that fight is in him. That aspect of fight, right? And I'm saying there's a universal aspect to this, man. No man wants to be punked or bitched like that, especially by another group. But see, black men, we got the history and the legacy of that shit, right? And with white men, see where he wants to respond immediately. Right now, let's go back to the whole, Jim Crow, type of shit, right? If a black man beat a white man's ass, that's not going to make it to the paper. You see what I'm saying? That's why they didn't like, what's his name, Jack Johnson and all that shit. It's not going to make it to the paper. You're not going to see that image, especially back then. It would have been like, Negro hit a white man and we took care of it. Like, that's all there would be to it. And I'm saying the black guy that punched that white guy in the Macy's and he's on the ground, that black guy, all type of charges, felonies, everything else. And we're never going to see him again. That's justice. But see, the problem is that image is still out there. That image is immortalized, just like the images of black men being lynched and hung and maimed and burned. That image is still out there. That social media image is on the internet. Once on the internet, always on the internet. See, they've lost control of the imagery. And at the end of the day, yeah, okay, that white man, at the Macy's, he got beat up and justice was served. But at the end of the day, just like Lord Jamar said, yeah, you still a cop calling ass motherfucker. You see? You still a let some other man handle your business type of motherfucker. So when they see these images of black men out here, winning or images where some white people get their ass kicked and everything, yeah, it's very triggering because those aren't the type of images that white men are particularly used to. This is why, in my opinion, you see all these white guys running around, on some Second Amendment shit and it's going to be a race war and we'll show these niggers and da-da-da, because they're trying to reclaim their manhood, especially in the face of what's been going on in the greater, larger American society where, men across the board, white and black, have been emasculated. Black men have been emasculated underneath not only the system of white supremacy and the long historical context of black men constantly being emasculated and castrated in this country, as it pertains to their manhood, but also just in recent years with all this super ultra leftist bullshit, toxic masculinity, smash the patriarchy and all that other bullshit, right? But you also have, on the other side, you have where, yes, white men don't have the long history of being emasculated like black men, and those immortalized pictures of white, there's no immortalized pictures of white men hanging from trees and there's black crowds around, pointing up at the tree and smiling like it's a goddamn circus. Right? Like there's something to see here. Everybody's turning around smiling at you. You won't find any images of that. You won't find whole towns and whole crowds of black people surrounding the burning corpses of white men. But you will see whole towns of white people surrounding the corpses of burning black male bodies. You will see that. You see? And so now, when you see, the videos and stuff going on and out here, and you see white men losing, like that white guy that went out there with that fucking bow and arrow, the freaking Black Lives Matter protesters, jumped his ass, Or the white guy that, remember that the other shit was the issue, was a white guy. He was chasing people around with a sword or something and claiming, he was defending his business. And, he got, man, that motherfucker got turned into a pretzel. I mean, straight up, turned into a pretzel. And see, those are images that white people, white men specifically, are not used to. They're not used to getting served. You know what I'm saying? And because there's only the response of getting the police officers, you done turn into some cop, you cop calling ass motherfucker. I mean that's you will call the police type of motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And so, in other words, despite justice being served, and that's the law, that whole social aspect they don't get to reclaim their manhood. You know what I'm saying? Just like I said with the whole transgender thing, a man can't ungay. He has to find some way to reclaim his manhood, which usually means, a violence towards the transgender, which is why you always see transgender, women getting killed all the time. And you don't see transgender men getting killed because transgender men are not a threat. You know what I'm saying? Transgender men, they like women. Yeah, okay. That doesn't affect affect his sexuality. Okay, if a man stands next to a transgender man, there's nothing's going to come in anybody's mind about, that man, that heterosexual or heteronormative cisgendered male being possibly gay. But if you're a straight man and you stand next to a transgender woman, your sexuality can come into question. And unfortunately, you can't ungay. See, women can ungay. They can go out there. They can, be in a lesbian relationship, say that they want to be with a man and whatnot, and say that they're done with women. And most men will be like, okay, cool. Okay, let's get married, because women can ungay at any time. They can mess with women and then go back to messing with men. And, that shit's not going to affect their life. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're dealing with somebody who's just, some hardcore Christian or some shit like that, some overly religious person. But on average, that shit's not going to affect their life. Women can be gay. Women can enter and experience homosexual relationships. And when they're done, nobody, they go right back to being a heterosexual woman. And that's all there is to it. That does not happen with men. Like I said, which one of you women are getting ready to date a transgender man? You know what I'm saying? Or excuse me, transgender. What am I saying? Which one of you women are getting ready to date a man who dated transgender women? Which one of you getting ready to date that? Or even a transgender man? I should throw that in there. Which one of you all getting ready to do that shit? Most of y'all not. So, it's like you can stop it with that. But again, that whole controlling the image thing, because in other words, what he wants to see is the white guy get his licks in. And I understand it. I totally get it. He wants to see the white guy like, nah, man, round two, motherfucker. Like, stand up, fight back, do something, spit in his eye. You know what I'm saying? Do something. You know what I mean? But the white guy didn't do anything. And the thing is like, again, in my opinion, I think a lot of white men have become complacent. Okay. And a lot of white men, they see when you get so comfortable as the dominant group, that you can we'll just rely on law enforcement. That's why you see all these white people running out there and buying guns and shit like that, because they realize, oh shit, we can't rely on law enforcement. But I'm saying, over the years, decades, whatever, white people get, that's what you see with the Karens. You know what I mean? They did, like, white people, like, when you see these white people that confront black people on camera and everything, oh, do you live here? And da-da-da-da-da, and they have this, like, self-righteous indignation. And you see this with the, harassing FedEx workers and shit. The guys got the code. Who gave you that code, Negro? You know what I mean? They're doing there's plenty of videos of female Karens, male Karens, these middle-aged white people that love to question black people about what they're doing and where they're going, as though it's like the fucking Jim Crow South. Okay. And see, a lot of them, they really, it's like, it's very, it's like the classic Dave Chappelle imitation of white people. It's just that very well, I will notify the authorities. Yeah, you bitch ass fucking, call the police type of motherfucker. Again, like, see, they get so comfortable, that of not getting their hands dirty and not dealing with or handling shit themselves, that, they, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's like they really think that, shit can't go south. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, motherfucker, it may take some time for the police to get here. You know what I mean? Or when you see situations like that, I remember that Karen shit where that white woman, she grabbed that Native American woman, and that Native American woman, she came around, slapped the shit out of her, right? And she just turned, she was like, oh, like she was shocked that hit came. And it's the most hilarious shit when you see it. It's like, oh, you really thought that you not only wasn't going to get hit, but you thought that you couldn't get hit. Like, you thought that you couldn't get just popped in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? And there's been a number of cases like this where white people, man, they be all extra. They all out there like they got some authority and shit like that. I'll call the police and blah, blah, blah. And they think that the police are like these entities that are literally in their back pocket that they can just pull out. I have the power, and same with that white woman that you saw, in Central Park, Mrs. Cooper, right? Same type of shit. I have the power. But see, it's an interesting dynamic when it comes to men, because as a man, again, calling the police, yeah, you just a cop calling type of motherfucker. That's all you are. You don't handle your own shit. You get into a confrontation that, hell, even you started. You get into a confrontation. You out here, writing, what do they say that shit? You know what I'm saying? You out here writing checks that you can't cash. Okay? You out here talking shit that you can't back up in the moment. And you see a lot of white people doing that. They go out here and it's like, yeah, you're right. The system is on your side. Once the authority gets here, that black person is fucked. But in the 4 minutes and 15 seconds it's going to take before the fucking cops get here, your ass is mine. You see a lot of white people, they don't get that shit. And see, the thing is with this stuff getting caught on camera, that's exactly what's happening, with the way that everybody has cameras now. You know what I mean? And now those images of white men on the ground groveling, looking like some weak ass bitches and not responding because they're getting served. Now those images are immortalized. And like my friend, they're feeling some type of way, which, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I take great glee in the shit. And the reason I take great glee in it, because I'm like, now you know how the fuck we feel when you got situations like what you saw in the movie Crash with Terrence Howard and Thandie Newton, or situations, where black men are constantly embarrassed in front of their families, in front of their children. And again, you don't get your manhood back. You know what I'm saying? This is one of the main reasons why we have problems with black women. When they sit there and they see black men getting manhandled and spread eagle on the ground and all that type of shit. Quiet as is kept when it came to that Micah Johnson and what he did in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of black people that look like, oh yeah, brother, you got some manhood points back. Because these police officers been fucking with black people as a collective, not any individual officer I can point to, but as a collective, because police brutality has been a problem. And then when Micah Johnson went up there in Dallas and got the dumping, it's like, yeah, eventually people get sick and tired of being sick and tired. You are not going to continue doing this shit and there not be a response. Plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, it's and the other thing that's funny is like, he can't understand when I'm saying, black people are going to start responding if y'all keep doing this shit, even though he wants a response to that white guy being on the floor at Macy's. I'm like, oh, you want a response just like we want to see a response, because that if there's no response, you look like a bitch. You can call the cops all you want and they can show up and, oh, they're going to take that black man and they're going to put him under the jail and he's going to be in jail for the next 25 years and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you still lost. You still had to go and get another man, another white man, but you still had to get another man to come through and handle your shit because your bitch ass couldn't handle it. You see, and with these images, with these camera phones, that's what people are seeing. It's tearing down the idea of the Super Saiyan almighty white man that's just so invincible and nobody can stop the white man. That image is being torn down. Yeah, we know it's still the white man's system, and it's still the white man's legal system, and it's still the white man's law enforcement. Yeah, we see all that. That's been that way. But again, just as street dudes have gotten respect in the community as it pertains to what they are and aren't going to take and how they're not afraid to go to jail. I'm like, that's what, white men have lost. Essentially, that's what they've lost. That's what, ELs have lost. I hate the fact sometimes that, it's like, let an EL get into it with Ray Ray and Pookie. Ray Ray and Pookie like, yeah, motherfucker, what you gonna do? You gonna go home to your motherfucking good job and shit like that. You ain't ready to throw your life away over this nigga moment. You're not ready to do it. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I was noticing with the NFAC. A lot of these white guys, they go out there and they talk all crazy and talk all type of shit. Oh, yeah, it was going to be a race war, blah, 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 blah. It was going to be a race war. But I'm like, black people are at the bottom, motherfucker. See, the thing is where white people fuck up, and I understand that they're, the smart thing to do would give black people opportunities so that they have something to lose, but then they would lose control and wouldn't be able to maintain white supremacy and social and economic political domination. Right. But see, when you're dealing with a group of people that ain't got nothing to lose, you know what I'm saying? You coming through on some rules type of shit. I'm like, again, it's going to take the police 4 minutes and 15 seconds to get here. And in that time, your ass is mine. And see, that's what they don't fucking realize. It's the same thing as I say about the Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Like, black people looked at white people fighting the Muslims like, bro, you may not want to fight them, man. They ain't on that crazy shit. They on that Allahu Akbar boom type of shit. Them motherfuckers do not care whether they die. Hell, they think that if they die, they're going to get rewarded for dying and get 72 virgins and whatnot. So I'm like, so you trying to fight a motherfucker that is not afraid of death? I'm like, you might want to reevaluate that shit. You see, dealing with black people who ain't afraid to go to jail, which is exactly what happened during the civil rights movement. Oh, you niggers better behave or we'll throw you in jail. And black people was like, throw us in jail. You ain't got enough motherfucking space in that bitch. Throw us in jail. And black people went to jail and the jails filled up. And then the white police was like, well, what do you want us to do? Arrest him. Well, we can't, sir. Why not? There's no more space. You know what I'm saying? See, once you overwhelm the system like that, a lot of white people don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. And it's just like, the way that, the Vietnam War, changed, the way it was filmed, that changed the way. Notice, like, they don't show that shit on front lines anymore like that in Vietnam because they don't want you to see, the casualties of war and all that stuff. They don't want you to see that because, it changed people's hearts and minds. They started calling Vietnam vets baby killers and all that shit. It's a little different when you see it. Okay, same thing with George Floyd. Okay, it's a little different when you had when white people had to sit home and watch that man be snuffed out for 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And everybody was home because of fucking coronavirus and shit like that. That was hard to watch. It's hard to watch. And everybody, police brutality is a myth, blah, 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 blah. But to sit there and watch that man be snuffed out for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, that was a lot for a lot of people. For a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. That was a lot to sit there and watch. Like, damn, man, like, you already got him handcuffed and down on the ground. Why don't you get the fuck up off his neck? Like, this is uncalled for. You see? And so, what was I going to say? There was an example I was going to use. Yeah, so, like, with the civil rights movement, This is why, like, in the 60s and 70s and a lot of other countries, that dealt with, European or Western imperialism, they related to a lot of black people in that regard, because they sit there and they watch, the news and watch black people be, get fucked up and all that other shit. Again, when that 1979 Iranian student crisis happened, with the exception of one loudmouth Negro, they let all the black people go home. They were like, Keisha, Deshaun, Marquise, Latrell, you can go home. You can, Kevin, Bobby, Steven, Stacy, sit your ass down. You ain't going home. You know what I'm saying? And they had to go and get Jesse Jackson, and Jesse Jackson, like Chris Rock said, the joke, you know what I'm saying? If you really want to piss him off, give him to me. You see? But that's because the world has seen black people be shit on like that. Fire hoses, dogs, all that shit. A whole bunch of shit that's just uncalled for. It's uncalled for. And see, what's happening now is that the media, the white media, or the muhaha infrastructure of white supremacy is losing control of the imagery. They're having images that they would rather not have immortalized in people's minds, which is primarily a black man standing over a groveling and sniveling white man. That triggers them. And again, from a universal standpoint, I totally understand it. You know what I mean? But see, the thing is again, motherfucker, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know what I'm saying? See, in my opinion, white people gotta learn. They gotta learn some shit that certain shit is just not cool. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, they got a lot of growing pains. They're gonna have to experience some of this shit that they've been dishing out. Oh, you can dish it out, but you can't handle you can't receive it? Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So like when these white people, they get all upset, they're like, oh, well, what about this? And oh, what about that? I'm like, y'all been doing that shit to us. Fuck you. You been doing that shit. And now they're confronted, with the fucking images, and now they're in their feelings and they're feeling, why doesn't he do anything? Why doesn't he do anything? And you got to think about him saying, why doesn't he do anything? And you're a member of the dominant society. Like I said, the cops come, they arrest the dude, he gets thrown underneath the jail. At the end of the day, you got caught, you got video recorded in your bitch ass moment. That's immortalized. You see what I'm saying? Black men have been existing in this country, even black women, where some foul shit went down and they couldn't do anything. Like literally couldn't do anything, couldn't legally do anything. I remember when Robert F. Williams was talking about that case that he defended the black woman who she was the help, and she was raped by whoever she was working for, and she got a gun and she shot the white man, killed him, right? Because he was like sexually assaulting her or something like that. And they tried to throw her under the jail, and Robert F. Williams was not having it. Y'all should look into Robert F. Williams and him, having his whatever relationship he had with the NRA and the whole gun issue. And I mean, that was like the first wave of talking about black people need to arm themselves, because these white people won't stop. They keep thinking they can get away with the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I said about, even the whole cop thing. I do not understand cops that go out here and do all this shit. I'm like, there's 1,000,001 fucking cameras. You're doing fucked up shit. If the black person dies, some cop somewhere in America is going to end up dying. We see it all the time. You got 44 million black people. I'm like, somebody's going to be pissed off enough to do something. You know what I mean? And it's fucked up because it's never the cop that actually does the actual deed that actually gets punished. You know what I'm saying? It's always some other cop that's like reading a newspaper in his squad car, eating a donut, and then some guy runs up and blows his head off, like you saw with that case with the guy with the nickel-plated Beretta 92 in New York, who ran and tried to like run down the subway and shit like that. That's what ends up happening. I'm like, I don't know why y'all don't stop doing that shit. You live in an armed country. This isn't China. This isn't like fucking these European countries where people don't have firearms. I'm like, you keep fucking up. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see somebody who's going to go off the deep end and fucking respond. You know what I mean? And then the worst part about that is that shit's just going to kick off, this sort of back and forth, yelling and screaming between, white men and the black community and all this, a Second Amendment pointing guns at each other. And I'm going to tell you the really fucked up part. Cause I don't think either side should support this, but then that's when the Democrats going to come in and say, well, see, look at all these militias and look at all these rogue groups, and that's why we need more gun control and why we need to reinstitute an assault weapons ban, right? That's what they're going to come and push to try to justify disarming everybody, and then depending on how you look at it, you can look at it like that's bad for everybody, or I can look at it from the standpoint that specifically for African Americans, that's really bad. Because honestly, being armed is the only thing that's going to stop whether it's white supremacists or whether it's the racist police officers from fucking with your ass. That's why I understand black people that's out here talking about, oh, Joe Biden, da-da-da-da-da. And I still haven't. I'm like, look, if you want to vote for Joe Biden, be my guest, vote for Joe Biden. But I haven't heard enough black people talk about that whole gun control shit needs to be off the table if you want the black vote. Now, and I'm saying that's separate and independent of our other demands like reparations for slavery when it comes to the ADOS movement. But I haven't heard enough black people talk about, nah, motherfucker, this shit needs to be off the table. You know what I mean? Because, everybody's, you got too much ignorance and you got too many people in their fields out here in society right now. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just, unfortunately, like when tensions are high like this, innocent people get killed. That's just the reality of it. Innocent people get killed. You saw this back in the 60s in the civil rights movement, black people just, we're driving back from church and shit like that. And, something happened to some white person somewhere. And then the white people dragging the black person out of the car. And, the black people, they go and retaliate and, it just goes back and forth. I remember I was watching some 1960s video, and it had this white lady, and she was looking like, the teacher from, Wonder Years or some shit like that. And she's riding in her car, and she's got her freaking, police revolver, in her hand, probably some 38 special type of revolver. And she's driving with the pistol in her hand, I see if I could find that video or find that image. But yeah, honestly, what's going on now is just the 60s and reincarnate. I mean, that's what it is. But the difference is, that the way that things are being documented. Everybody has a camera now. So people thinking, oh, I'm gonna get away with some bullshit. I'm like, and again, control of the images is virtually impossible at this point. They can control the narrative, or at least try to, but they can't control the images. Just like I said with that black woman that beat that white woman's ass, I'm like, that was a work-related beef that they had. And that white woman went, again, what are the chances that they just walked up in the park, and then her coworker they arranged or agreed to be there. The white woman brought her kids there. And then here's the question, like, where was the white man at? Where was the father of that little white boy? Where was he at? Saying, you took my son where? Like, where was he checking her on that shit? No, she wasn't checked. But that's what you get when you get these people from the lower classes. That's what you get. Probably she working at McDonald's and got a baby. I'm like, okay, so your kids to resource ratio shit is just all fucked up. Okay. And then, probably one of these low class tattoo wearing white women, and then, like I said, that news article, and I'm gonna put the link in the description box. You're gonna see the tone of it. The tone of it is very, and these black African savages attacked our precious white woman, and that's the tone of it. When I'm like, no, the white girl went there most likely to fight, and she got served. And so now it's, oh, we got to press charges on the black woman. I'm like, nah. I'm like, that's some bullshit. I'm like, no, she got her ass beat for talking shit or whatever the hell she was. And, again, thought that, I can take this nigger bitch. That's probably what she was thinking. I can take her. I can handle. I'll beat that bitch's ass. I'll smack the naps off of her. Talking real crazy. And then fucking, Keisha was like, so you can, she started coming through with all type of fucking people's elbows and shit. And, again, if you saw the video, then, you saw the video. But yeah, that white woman got her ass beat. It was unfortunate that it had to be in front of the little boy. But again, like, a couple years ago, I would have been like, not in front of the children. You know what I mean? Like, we can handle this off to the side. And that's one of the things that I told my white friend about that shit. I was like, he couldn't even deny it. I was like, why bring the child there? I was like, you wouldn't have brought your daughter there. You would have been like, now, baby, daddy's got some business that he has to handle, and I'll be right back. And when I get back, I'll read you, a bedtime story, and, then you got to go to bed, okay? Promise, and then that's it. Then he go outside, grab his gun, and handle his business. You see what I'm saying? But I'm like, that's you as a man. That's us as men. Yeah, we think like that. But I'm like, this white woman obviously didn't. That wasn't of a concern. And then he went on his rant about, lower class white people and how we got to get rid of the bottom 10% and this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? And it was so crazy is I'm like, and motherfucker, you came from the bottom 10%. Maybe not the bottom 10%. I shouldn't say that. He wasn't that poor. He was just out in the sticks. Like literally out in the sticks. That's where he was. He was one of them white people, like where they're like off of a like non-main highway, where it's like, oh, we're gonna build a house like right here. We'll build a rancher right here. You know what I mean? And they got like a dirt driveway and shit. Yeah, that was him. Dirt driveways. You know what I'm saying? So, he wasn't in. And that's the funny thing about urban poverty and rural poverty. You know what I mean? Rural poverty doesn't really seem to have a face. White people try to hide rural poverty, and only time they ever talk, only time you see any documentary about rural poverty is when they talk about coal mine towns in Appalachia. That's the only time. You know what I'm saying? But there's a big gap between that and, white people that are from working class neighborhoods. There's a big gap that they just they just totally erase that whole portion of the white population. They totally erase it. And this is why a lot of black people run around thinking that, all white people are rich or all white people just got it like that. You see what I'm saying? Like I've driven clear across the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm telling you, between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, it's Pennsyltucky. It's 100% fucking Pennsyltucky. You know what I mean? It is not, them white people do not got it like that. You'll leave Philadelphia and you'll see, Mercedes-Benz and Tesla and BMW trucks and all these type of luxury vehicles. Man, all of a sudden you start seeing Nissans, late model Buicks, old, last generation, late model Honda Civics and shit like that. You start seeing a lot of economy cars, four-cylinder cars. I don't fuck with four-cylinder cars. Like my mind on a four-cylinder car, I just cannot fathom buying a four-cylinder car. It's got to be a V6 or a V8, one of them two things. Right? But there's people out here that, again, a four-cylinder car, that's all they paid, maybe $5,000 for the car, and it's a used vehicle, and that's what they're driving around in. You know what I'm saying? But, I see them things on the high. Have you ever had, like, rent a car? You rent a four-cylinder car? I know I'm talking from a bougie standpoint, but I'm saying, like, I get into one of them four-cylinder cars, and it's like, man, you get on the highway, you start going like 70 miles an hour, you can feel and hear all the wind hitting the car. The 18-wheeler passes you by, you feel like that motherfucker gonna swerve off the road. Them skinny ass skateboard tires do not handle in the fucking rain. At best you're lucky, you got front wheel drive, so the thing accelerates like shit. You gotta mash the pedal just to get up to speed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get into luxury vehicles and you're just like wafting on the highway. Like, you're like, oh shit, I'm I'm doing 94. Oh, you know, like you don't even realize you're doing 94. Like you're just fucking cruising. You know, you smash the pedal, you got power on tap. It's like, oh, this motherfucker's going too slow. You go right around them like they're nothing. You see what I'm saying? But, you know, man, there's a lot of people that, and the thing is like, I see economy cars, like, you know, little tiny, like, Hyundai accents or whatever. I see that as the type of car that you have, like, as your first car or something. You know, your parents are afraid you smash it up and shit. At my high school, when I went to high school, at the predominantly white high school I went to, you know, like, the cars that people were driving were brand new, like that year model cars. You know what I'm saying? And even my white friend, the guy that I'm talking about, you know, that motherfucker came to high school. He had a pickup truck with no fucking back seat. You know what I'm saying? Like where like the pickup truck, like you're sitting vertical and the window is right behind you. Like it's a work. I see those things as work trucks. I'm like, who would buy that truck? Like you can't even like recline the seats, right? But this is my mind. But I remember he drove that shit, and that shit had so much like chip paint and like fucking like it was worn out. But that was his truck, and you know his mom would be on some, and it wasn't red, it was black. And his mom was on some, I remember that shit. I'd go over his house and his mom would have him like cleaning the toilet with a fucking toothbrush and shit. You know what I mean? He'd be running around like, you know, not, you know, didn't put his shirt on because it's hot in the house and he didn't want to sweat. So he's got his pants on, but he doesn't have his shirt on. The shirt's like hanging over a chair. I'm sitting there waiting, you know, entertaining, you know, his parents and shit like that, talking to them and whatnot. You know, they're yelling at him, oh, you got to do this. You know, you got to do this before you leave and everything else like that. And then, you know, you can borrow the car, but there's no gas in it. You know, and I told him point blank, I told him today, I was like, man, you didn't come out of that motherfucker unscathed, man. A lot of the fucking anger that you got, that, in my opinion, it manifests. Like, even when we talk about the racial issues, a lot of the stuff that a lot of his anger, you know, that he projects onto the racial conversation comes from his fucking mother. 100%. You know, because he has this like explosive personality disorder. And quiet as kept, you know what else he told me? He is on antidepressants. So I'm like, there you go. I'm like, that's not normal for people to have to take antidepressants. Why do you have to take antidepressants? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, he went through, you know, all the shit that he went through, and, you know, then it didn't get better with the, you know, his whole divorce with it from his first baby mama that he caught the domestic from. You know what I'm saying? Like that highlights right there that anger that came out of the house that he was raised in. And so like the part that gets me is it's like, you know, he's on some, you know, personal responsibility type of shit and whatnot. But I'm like, you didn't come from, like, he thinks he came from this solid background. But I'm like, you didn't. And you didn't come out that motherfucker unscathed. And the fact that you didn't come out that unscathed, that, in my opinion, led to the domestic charge that he got, because, you know, he couldn't maintain his fucking cool. And that's not the first time. That's not the first time. You know what I mean? There were other times where he came dangerously close to that shit. The other thing that he did was the same thing that black men do. Fucking bitches raw and shit like that, you know? Because, you know, they're always, you know, see, people who constantly get hit with restrictions and rules and limitations because they don't have resources and freedom. A lot of times they go out here and they have to like not have rules. Like they have to operate. They got to live on the edge and do risky behavior. And that's what he did. And that's how he ended up with his first kid. Again, like, I'm like, motherfucker, you can't bullshit me. You can bullshit another black person, but you can't bullshit me because I fucking know you. I know damn near everything about you. I've seen your trials, your tribulations, all the shit you went through. I'm like, you're not going to be able to sit here and fucking bullshit me. So I end up playing fucking psychologist to this motherfucker. because he did not come out of that household unscathed. And I'm like, the only difference is you got the complexion for the fucking connection. And you were able to go out there and tap into channels and networks and all of the type of stuff that allowed him to get to the next level. And I'm saying, he got there off of a lot of scurvy shit, fucking with people that, they had connections to other people that he wouldn't have otherwise fucked with. Got there off of, older, powerful women, or at least tried. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to get them, messing with some older white woman that's got money and got a business, and then trying to, use his relationship with her to get her to buy into, or use her political connections to get and buy in. But again, the older, when I say older, I'm talking like he was in his late 20s and this woman was in her 40s. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, motherfucker, you can't bullshit me. You was out here hustling and doing all the same type of foul shit that niggas that in the hood will try to do to get the fuck out of that situation. You ain't no goddamn different. You see? But again, complexion for the connection. As soon as he got over that, whatever that hump was, as soon as he rubbed shoulders, as soon as he faked it till he could make it, you know what I mean? As soon as they thought that he was, a white man of, some sort of, status or class or whatever, you know what I mean? Cause he lied to me for a while, where I thought that he actually had it like that when he didn't have it like that. That was his whole faking it till he makes it phase. Just straight lying through his teeth about how awesome his company was and what he was doing. That motherfucker was hemorrhaging money all over the place. Because if you recall, right around 2009, the economy was shit. The bottom fell out. So again, and the thing is I don't take nothing from his fucking worth ethic. And that's another thing that's really hard for him to understand. And I noticed that there's a lot of black men that do the same thing. So I can't sit there and put it on him and be like, oh, it's because he's white. It's not because he's white. There's black men that came from the bottom. They'll be the first one to be, man, what the hood ever do for me? I worked hard. I did this. I did that. Man, I got out. You know what I mean? They'll be the first ones to just think that, that everybody else is fucking just lazy, and that's the reason why. And I'm like, again, I point out to him, I'm like, man, you didn't come out that motherfucker unscathed, man. The difference between you and a lot of other motherfuckers out here, the black men that you feel some type of way about, based on what Vincent James is throwing up in your face, a lot of the black men that you feel some type of way about, the only difference between you and them is that they got caught. Or they got caught up in some shit. They didn't have the complexion for the connection. They didn't get the benefit of the doubt when they walked in the room. You got the benefit of the doubt. You got the connection. You had people who looked like you, who you could tap into and get access to resources, and motherfuckers that put you underneath their wing and say, hey, let me put you on, that were already ahead of the game. They saw a little bit of themselves in you and brought you underneath their wing. You see? So, listen to me talk to him like I'm talking to him. I do talk to him like this, by the way. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, sharing my thoughts on the whole shit with y'all. For the other people out here to understand, whether it's black people or some of my white viewers that hide in the shadows and don't comment. I see you. But I'm like, motherfucker, you came up. Literally, we have two different Americas, and your America gives you advantages that, a black guy is not necessarily going to get. Even if you can point to the tokens here, well, this black guy, he got on, or this black guy, he got on because of affirmative action. It's like, when does that ever fucking happen? You know what I mean? But I'm saying, yeah, there's some black guys that fall through the cracks, but there's way bigger cracks to allow way more white guys to fall through the cracks. That should be point blank obvious. But, it's just like, I grow frustrated with, every scenario, everything that white people throw at me, I throw it right back. I could throw, like, literally just right back at them. Everything that they want to be mad about, everything they want to be outraged about, I throw it right back at them. They got nowhere to go. They got nowhere to go. You know, he wants to talk to me about, you know, well, why can't black guys in the inner city, like, why can't they just get a good job? You know, I'm like, same reason that you can't get a good job, because you got that domestic charge, motherfucker. Don't sit there and forget. You see what I'm saying? You know, a motherfucker got caught up on selling some weed at 19, and now he's got, you know, drug charges on him or some shit that follows him around everywhere he goes. I'm like, you in the same boat, you know? And so it's with him, it's interesting because he came from the bottom, you know what I mean? Now he's at the top, but then, like, on some days, he can't relate to the people at the top. And then I got to hear about it. And then other days, he can't relate to the people at the bottom. And I got to remind him that I'm like, motherfucker, like, you were right there. You were right there. You know what I'm saying? I was the quote unquote, rich black kid, and he was the white kid. I didn't fucking judge him. He's like, yo, can you come get me? Pick me up, give me a ride, all that other shit. I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm saying he knows this, which is why, you know, again, we continue, you know, to still talk and shit like that. When he thinks about them fucking fucked up days and shit like that, you know, he remembers. You know, I remember one time, right, we were coming back from the Jersey Shore. I don't know if I told y'all this story. And I've always had, like, spiritual fucking moments like this, man. So we were coming back from the shore in his truck. And it's like dark. Like, when you're cutting through, like, the Pine Barrens in Jersey, it's fucking dark. Okay, you turn your lights off, you can't see your hand in front of your face because there's no lights out there. You know, it's just nothing but highway. Like, there's nothing in the center part, you know, of New Jersey. So we're driving back, and I'm like, I don't know. I was like kind of asleep, and he was driving, and I told him to get over. Like, I, like, woke up out of my sleep. I was like, man, get over. Like, he was like, you know, it's like, you know, it's two lanes, no median in the middle, 2 lanes going in opposite direction, right? So I guess you would call that a 4-lane highway or something like that. I don't know if 2 lanes, but in opposite directions, 2 lanes on each side. So we're in the left lane, right? So for some reason, and I still don't know to this day, for some reason I told him to get over. I was like, man, just get over. Like, I don't know. It was like I felt he was going too fast. Something in me just made me uneasy. I told him to get over. So he gets over. And, like, it was like some shit out of, like, Blair Witch or some shit. All we saw was literally a naked white man from like the light, the way his headlights were, they cut off right at the bottom part of the guy's mouth. So we the top part of his mouth. So we couldn't see, like, the nose up, right? So all we saw was this just naked dude. We go flying past, right? Like, the fuck was that? Like, just shitting ourselves. And as we go further down the road, there's a car on the side of the road, and it was like just, I remember just the snippet of that moment in time. The doors open, you could see the interior light on, and it was a guy and a girl, and they were, like, running and screaming this guy's name. I don't remember the name. All I remember was just, like, the yell, like Johnny, Bobby, whatever it was. You know, they're just, like, running, and they're like booking towards him because we almost hit him. And, you know, the next day I was like, yo, like, what the fuck was that last night? He was like, man, I don't know. And it hit me. I was like, that motherfucker was trying to commit suicide. And for some reason I said, get the hell over. He got over, because he was like, why? He was like bothered. I was like, man, just get over. He was like, man, why? I was like, man, just get over. And, you know, we went around that dude, and I don't know if another car hit him. I I never heard about it. I never heard about any suicide. I never even looked into it. But that guy was walking. I mean, literally like right past the freaking, driver's side mirror. Like all you just saw was this naked, pale body. Just, and I'm pretty sure that dude was trying to kill himself because he had his arms out. He had his arms out like he was Jesus, like a cross, and he was naked. That's all I remember. Just naked. When you see just a naked white man with his dick out and all that shit, you can't forget that shit. You know what I'm saying? So he was just naked and just standing out there like a cross. Like if he did not get over, I swear, it would have just been guts all over the freaking windshield. Because we were going at least 65, 70 miles an hour. You know what I mean? We were definitely going above the speed limit. You know what I mean? And, yeah, like he still remembers that day. It's just some weird shit. So I'm saying, like, when we talk about, people are like, why are you friends with him? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, we got history together. You know what I'm saying? We grew up together. It is what it is, I'm not, yeah, he pisses me off sometimes. Sometimes I put his ass on timeout and I don't fuck with him for a while. You know what I mean? Or I'm pretty sure he does the same thing. You know what I mean? But, it's, I can understand where some of his irritations come from because, there are times when, I'm like, I don't like the way that either Black Lives Matter or just Black people in general conduct themselves when dealing with, white supremacy and the racial issue. I'm like, man, fuck all the extra shit. Stay focused, talk about resources, economic opportunities, and that's it. But, again, there's the intellectual dishonesty where then, the people that are talking about the opportunities and everything else, they get dismissed by, the Vincent James who like to talk about, black criminality and all these people are just dysfunctional and they're just problematic. I'm like, yeah, given the situation that you put them in. I mean, again, if the environment had no impact on how people turn out, then why is it that white people go out of their way to make sure that their kids are in a safe environment and go to great schools? Why is that even important? If it's not about the environment. Oh, we don't want our kids to go here. We heard it was a bad school. Or we don't want to raise our kid here. It's because we heard it was not safe. Well, Black people got to raise their kids in those environments because they don't have, the economic resources to do otherwise. Either go to a better environment or change that environment to where it is a safe area. What did I used to say a long time ago? Damn, I don't forgot. I wrote it down a long time ago, but I think I said something about, your environment molds your experiences. Your experiences mold, your belief systems. Your belief systems mold, your thought process, and your thought process molds your behavior. I said it better than that, but I forget exactly how I said it, but it's in that order. You know what I mean? Environment, your experiences, your belief systems, how you think, and then finally, your behavior. If you want to see people's behavior change, you have to start with their environment. I don't want to hear this bullshit about, environments don't matter. The fuck they don't. And because we have, a society that, has gross economic inequality, the environment of the people with the resources versus the environment of the people without the resources are going to be starkly different. And anybody saying that that's not a factor, or anybody saying that's not true or whatever, again, it's just, intellectual dishonesty, and I ain't got no time for it. Anyway, that's my those are my thoughts for now. So anyway, that's my video. SWP out.